What's up, everybody, and welcome back to our weekly football podcast. I'm going to invite on my good buddy, Mr. Improv Pete, to come help me navigate through these playoffs.
Hello, sir.
Howdy.
I just want to say I'm always glad that you invite me onto this show.
Yeah, I have to, I need all that carrying.
I'm
So,
saying, what's going on, guys? Welcome to our Thursday little football craziness where we talk to you all about fantasy when it is the fantasy season. Of course, now that we're in the postseason, it's all about playoff football, the best kind of football. We're going to be going over the games from last week. We're going to be talking about the games coming up this week. Who you got, who you don't have. Always let us know in the comments so we can interact with you. We love interacting with you guys. We're here on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. So make sure you follow, like, sub to all that live every time at 6:30. Today was 6:35 because Facebook. I love you, man, but 10 minutes really? That's insane. But we're gonna jump into it, of course. Joe always joined. We're gonna talk a lot about football, a lot of big not so surprises, let me say, last week in football. Would you agree?
you're right, not so surprises, as Kyler Murray got eliminated from the playoffs because you backed him.
I'm saying Aaron Rodgers all the way.
So correct, not so surprises.
It, I would like to start off with and we're gonna of course bring up the other. We have the games right up here. The Raiders, Bengals, 19 to I believe 28. I'm seeing or
It
26.
looks like a 26 to me.
My vision is gone, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get old.
Uh,
So this game, pretty one-sided for the most part, I would say, with the Bengals. Raiders trying to come up. They had a nice little jolt at the end,
the
but
one close game was one-sided. Like it.
what?
The one close game of the week was one-sided.
Well, you can make the argument the 49ers and Cowboys was one-sided. The only thing
You're
that
right, it
doesn't
was.
look
That
one-sided would
game
be the
was
Bucks
one-sided.
Eagles, but we'll get there. But I feel like the Bengals really put on a performance, and because of them winning, we'll talk about, but they could be a formidable opponent against the fucking Titans come this weekend. I don't think people should write off the Bengals as much. I mean, their defense is not all the way there. I feel like the Titans do have the better defense, but all in all, I think the Bengals put up a pretty good game this weekend. And is somebody to look at in the AFC? I don't understand how you can't agree with that.
Well, we're gonna put the numbers together.
I love you with numbers, so go for it. I defy
To-
the numbers. Kyler Murray
Total
for the win.
yards, Vegas. Passing yards, Vegas. Rushing yards, Vegas. Yards per play, Vegas. Guess who did
So
not
what
win that
happened
game?
then, Joe? Why did the Bengals win?
Turnovers, Vegas fumbled. Turnovers, Vegas threw a pick. That is why they did not win.
So is Derek Carr the reason that the Raiders did not win? Is it time for him to leave?
Derek Carr is not the reason they lost. Derek Carr may be on the move though. I mean, if the Raiders ever want to continue competing, they should continue to build around Derek Carr, but they will not. They did fire their GM this week, so now they're looking for a GM and a coach. So the new coach will just new GM coach combo will decide who will be their quarterback. I don't believe it will be Derek Carr. It should be Derek Carr, but I don't believe it will be Derek Carr.
So what happens hypothetically if Derek Carr does not resign? Where would he go?
There's rumors all over the place. Just Giants, whatever. I mean, like I said, there's options. He,
I mean,
there'll
we
be
have talked
there'll
on
be
the show that
teams.
we really do feel that there's going to be a quarterback shuffle.
Yeah, so it's really hard to say because anybody watching could use them. All of those things. There's so many opportunities. I mean, some teams have cap, others don't. There's a team in New Orleans who might be in the market for a quarterback.
I was saying that today. I was saying it.
So
They're like, is Jameis your guy? I said no, and then he goes, then Taysom, and I said Taysom's a great player, and I bat for him all the time, but we need that fucking quarterback that's going to get us through the darkest days, and I don't think Jameis Winston is that quarterback. Would I love Derek Carr to come to New Orleans? I think that would be a great matchup with him and Sean Payton. I've always liked Derek Carr. I feel like he could be a nice breeze, especially with Sean Payton molding him in the way that Breeze was like. He's a great leader in the locker room. I'd be very happy to have Derek Carr in New Orleans. That would be a win for me.
Yeah, well, he's going to be an upgrade on a lot of teams. Whether they choose to go that route or not will be seen. But again, like I said, new GM, new coach, probably a new coach. They didn't rule out bringing their original coach back, but they do have interviews. I don't think they'll bring him back. So, new GM, new coach will decide Derek Carr's fate as a Las Vegas Raider.
Very fair. But let's move on to the Patriots and the Bills.
There's not even anything to talk about in this game.
And that's the thing. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I was watching a movie, because I'm like, let me watch a little bit of a movie. I'll catch the second half of this game. Shouldn't be a nice, closely contested game. You have Belichick, one of the best head coaches of our time, versus a Buffalo team that was hungry and ready to show why they are the kings of the AFC. And let me tell you something, they did show Sunday. I checked my phone, ladies and gentlemen. It was 20-0 still, just ending at the first. I mean, it is incredible. Excuse me, how this Buffalo team is continuing their warpath and putting up 47 points is nothing to laugh at against Bill Belichick. So you got
Yeah,
to ask
Belichick
your
defense and in
Mhm.
a playoff game.
Exactly. So you got to be looking at yourself saying, everybody's talking about Kansas City. Nobody's talking about the Titans. How after this weekend are you not talking about the Buffalo Bills, Joe? How are you not talking about them?
Well, I don't think they're going to be able to rush for 174 yards a game come throughout the playoffs. That would be amazing, though, if they did. That would be real good on them. For this game, though, they average just under 9 yards a play. That's embarrassing for Patriots defense. So they should not be happy about that. And I do feel like they're going to spend the majority of their offseason keep building that defense, but they obviously things need to be made. Josh Allen had 5 touchdowns. So,
Do you keep
he needs to be
Belichick
stopped.
and Jones together?
Yeah. What, are you going to fire Belichick because he lost a playoff game?
Do you think he hangs it up after this game?
No.
You think he's still in
He
it?
would have hung it up already once Brady left.
Very fair, very fair. But yeah, definitely the Bills on the ground and pound, 9 yards. That's insane. They're going to be making their way over, I believe, to Kansas City. They are
Mm, They will be playing Kansas City. You are correct about that.
but they're an Arrowhead, if I'm correct.
Yeah, they're in Arrowhead.
So definitely a different fight feel for Buffalo. But like I said, Josh Allen looking great. Those 5 touchdowns, the run game. I see the Bills. This was a statement game against Belichick and a Patriots defense that doesn't give up yards, and they put up 47 in a playoff game. This is why I'm telling you, do not sleep on the Buffalo Bills, ladies and gentlemen. I see them going all the way, and that is a prediction that I hope that I don't jinx for saying that, Mr. J. Rush. I
Oh
really
yeah,
hope.
that's a given. But anyway, so the AFC handled their business. The top four seeds move on in the AFC. The NFC, not so much.
So we're gonna start with, of course, Buffalo. Buffalo's. My apologies. The Eagles versus the Bucks. Bucks are home, of course.
This
Uh,
wasn't even a game.
Not even a game. I
The
won
Eagles
big
didn't
money.
score till the fourth quarter, so this was not even a game. They, Tom Brady never came out of the game, so that you could say what you will,
We
but
were
at
worried.
at that point the the foot was off the gas. It was 31-0 in the fourth, and then finally Philly broke through and scored. My concern with this game is what I've said all year. Jalen Hurts is not what he's cracked out to be, and all those things. He's not. He's great running quarterback. Great. Those don't work very well in the NFL. If running quarterbacks worked well, Taysom Hill would be starting in New Orleans. Tim Tebow would have still been in the league. All different things like that. Yes, mobile quarterbacks help, but the ones that prioritize the run, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, etc., not working out. Jalen Hurts had 2 interceptions early in the game, and that literally took him out of the game. Yes, a stat line of 258 yards. The 258 in a playoff game doesn't look atrocious because it's a playoff game, but realistically, they're 43 passes. I think it's a 258 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Not going to cut it. even with the Bucks defense being banged up. And again, like I said, priorities to run. He was their leading rusher over Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell. So not a recipe for success in the playoffs.
So that's on the Eagles front. So let me throw this at you. The Bucks coming off a win against the Eagles. Are they still going to make a play in this playoff? I mean, you had a pretty easy matchup against the Eagles. No disrespect to Philly, but the team was. It showed that Jalen Hurts was not the answer, and they got to really figure out what they're doing over in Philly. I mean, there was just no offense for 3 quarters in a playoff game. And I mean, they scored at the end, but I mean, at that point, the game was Brady's all the way. Brady was putting up over 250 yards, getting those touchdowns to Gronk, getting that touchdown to Evans, feeding his boys, looking sharp. But does this mean that the Bucks can go into the playoffs and still deliver? Can they beat the Rams? I
We're
don't
gonna
think they can.
we're gonna find out if Leonard Fournette plays. He's practiced, so that's obviously a step in the right direction. Oh, now you want to be on the Rams wagon? That's
I didn't say
extreme.
I'm on the Rams wagon. We'll get there.
You
But
obviously on the Rams wagon if you're having them beating the defending Super Bowl champs. So
we'll get to it when we talk about, of course, next this coming up week's game. But Dallas, the Tampa Bay looking strong against the Eagles, but my fear is they can't hold up. But like you said, if you don't want to add anything more, but Philly, you figure out your shit. Like, congratulations for making. I feel like this would have been, no offense, the Saints. I feel like we would have lost this game if we were the Saints, if the Saints were in and the Eagles weren't. I think we were in that same boat that, we still have some kinks to work out. Who's our quarterback? What's going on? Tampa Bay, easy win right here. 49ers, Cowboys. 49ers win in Dallas. God, how many times do you think they practice the end of the play? Because we have to talk about the spotting of the ball. Because do you think that was ever practiced? Do you think Dak knew that he had to wait for the referee to put the fucking ball down for him to spike it? Do you think that would have made a difference? Joe, talk to me about this game. What did you feel? Anything?
well, you already answered all of your questions. So obviously it's not practiced. Obviously they didn't know that the ref needs to spot the ball because it got brought up many times during the broadcast that they should have just handed the ref the ball so he could spot it. But point being is not most people, I would say 60-40, thought San Fran was going to win this game.
But we all thought that too. This was the most
So
back and forth game we saw this coming up week.
total yards, San Fran. Rushing yards, San Fran. Yards per play, San Fran. You know, most of the things, third down efficiency, San Fran. The time of possession, as you know, I spent all day on the phone yesterday talking about this. Time of possession. Dallas ran more plays on offense than San Fran, and San Fran had the ball for almost 8 minutes longer. It was 2 seconds away from being 8 minutes longer. That's the difference in the game, and that's what running the ball does. San Fran had 2 injuries. Bosa with a head injury, probably concussion, didn't return. Warner had an ankle injury, wanted to return. They didn't let him.
He did return, but
Oh, I don't remember him returning. I know he's
yeah,
hopping around
he
on the
looked pretty
sideline.
good the last play.
No, I don't think he was out there in the last play. I think they're just showing him hopping around. But anyway, those guys need to play for San Fran to have a chance. This game, again, so this is a 10-7 team coming from a very strong division. So the record doesn't show everything.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas coming from a much weaker NFC East. To me, the NFC East is one of the worst divisions in football. You could turn it around and say, hey, they had 2 playoff teams. The North and the South did not. But realistically, they got to beat up on the bad teams in the division, aka the Giants and the Redskins were bad this year. Both these teams, even though this was a close game, both these teams prove that they're not really playoff teams. And you say, well, hey, somebody from that division needs to make the playoffs. Correct. Dallas led the league in scoring in the regular season. Correct. They're not built for a playoff team. They're built to smack around these bad teams. That's exactly what they're built for, and that's what they'll continue to do in the regular season. They don't play, and it's hard to word this the right way, but they don't play enough smash mouth football. You have Ezekiel Elliott who can pound the ball. So you'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Ezekiel Elliott had 12 carries for 31 yards. That doesn't get it done in the playoffs. That doesn't control the ball like San Fran did. You can turn around and say San Fran, Elijah Mitchell wasn't great. Sure, but he ran the ball 27 times. And then you factor in Deebo Samuel ran the ball 10 more times. That's 37 rushes right there between the two players. And Deebo Samuel had 10 rushes for 72 yards, which outrushed all of Dallas's team combined. So, and then also with that being said, CeeDee Lamb was nowhere to be found in this game, which begs the question multiple things. Why? Who is it on? Is it on CeeDee Lamb? Is it on a coaching staff? Why was one of your best playmakers not involved in this game? In a game that you only lost by 6 points. So there's gazillions of questions. I never really thought Dallas was, a playoff team that was going to make a playoff run with the way they were built. Yeah, they have some nice pieces and some fancy pieces that, get real shiny. They got a rookie who was up there in sacks. But, I don't want to spend 2 hours talking about this game,
Well, you
etc.
said
and
it
his team.
before. You said it before. If I may, you even said in a group chat. I mean, you have to look at Dallas in their division. They're not fucking big ass teams that are going to make an impact. The Giants haven't been over 500 at all during a season in the last 5 years. That's who the Dallas Cowboys have in their division. When you go over to the division in the West that have Seattle, you have the Cardinals, you have the Rams, two of those teams making the playoffs and battling at the 4 and 5 spot. Like, it is incredible the competition that San Fran has to go in. So on paper, you see San Fran being the better team. Dallas is there. They have the weapons, but why didn't you utilize Lamb? This was a big moment to use him. Why didn't you? And you said it like again. Will I think San Fran continue their dominance through this playoff? Absolutely not. I think when we get to it, I think the Packers are going to roll right through them, especially being in Green Bay. But good show. But Cowboys, you got to, what's going on? You got to figure it out. We'll see you next year in the playoffs, and you lose in round one again. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, they need
Steel,
they need changes to be made. I know you want to skip ahead, but this
no,
is
no,
gonna
no.
be a
We can stay
20-minute
on.
show at this rate. So, Cowboys have really bad cap situation. So I don't know how they're gonna be able to make changes, but they need to be made changes. They have the third worst cap situation. Only two teams are worse than them. One of which is Green Bay, which their cap situation, if Aaron Rodgers decides he doesn't want to play there anymore, will be fixed in one fellow swoop. And the other one is somebody's favorite team here, and they're in real
I think I
bad cap
raised
shape.
my hand, buddy. I knew.
Real bad cap shape.
Yeah.
So, there's some teams here who are playoff teams, fringe playoff teams, etc., going to be making major turnarounds. Just hey, if Aaron Rodgers decides to stay, like this year is a $44 million cap hit, and they're $39 million over the cap. Am I saying get rid of Aaron Rodgers and replace him with something? Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that saves their cap woes if he left. That would make the team much worse. But they have ways around it
Well,
where the Saints do not, the Cowboys do not, and that's going to be big issues for those two teams who perennial teams that make the playoffs almost every single year.
well said. Like I said, of course, we're going to be seeing what actually ends up developing. I think we should do after the Super Bowl, like an overall how we thought every team performed this year. I think that would be a cool little thing. So you better check that out. But no, I completely agree with you. Figure out Cowboy and with the cap. As my question to you is, if you have Aaron Rodgers win you a Super Bowl, how do you trade? How do you get rid of that?
Well, if he decides he doesn't want to play for you, there's nothing you can do about that. You can try and talk him into it, but if you can't, but
Do
they
you
still
think
need to
he's done
win
after
the
this
Super
year? You
Bowl.
really think he's done championship or no? He's done in Green Bay.
I think we win the championship. It's impossible for him to leave.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he wins, how?
Yeah, great. They still need to win the Super Bowl. How many playoff games have they played so far? So I don't think we're anointing them Super Bowl champions without even playing a
I'm just
playoff
saying.
game
I
yet.
know. I'm just speculating. That's all I like to do here. You know. Can we move on, sir? Would you like to fantasize
We
more about
we
Dallas?
we certainly can move on. I know you want to talk so much about Ben Roethlisberger because you
Good
love him,
old Biggie Betty and
apparently.
versus Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs. No surprise here. Um, Big Ben's presumably last game. Do you think it was a good performance, or you think that's
No,
it?
that was not. I mean, there was nothing he could do. There was no, they had another game where there was no shot, another no contest game.
But Juju came back, not a big impact player.
Obviously not. Do you see the final score?
Or I do.
Okay, then obviously not. At the end of the third quarter, it was already 35-14. So, at that point, you're not coming back from that. The Chiefs proven why they're the defending AFC champions. Mahomes were 30 of 39 for 4, and 5 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to be extremely tough to beat. So Buffalo needs to bring their A game. Also, the Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire practiced in full, so he should be back. That will help their non-existent run game. Jerick McKinnon wasn't bad. He averaged 5 yards a rush, but only had 12 carries. But the pass game was where it was at. Kelsey 5 for 108, McKinnon
Mm-hmm.
6 for 81, Robinson 4 for 76, Hill for 5 for 57 with a touchdown, Pringle 5 for 37 but had 2 touchdowns. So their passing game was rolling. Obviously,
Of course. Of course.
then again, Steelers Ben can't throw the ball down the field. He had 44 attempts and got to 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That part looked nice. But Najee Harris averaged 2 yards a carry, and their leading receiver had 37 yards receiving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is not winning numbers. You get not running the ball and passing the ball. It's going to be real hard to win. DeAndre Johnson, 5 catches for 34 yards. He's their best playmaker. That's not going to get it done. On 10 targets, too. So, 5 bad throws, etc. Not good. Juju had 5 for 26. Claypool had 3 for 25. Freermuth had 4 for 25. Those are not inspiring numbers in any way, shape, or form. Najee Harris had 2 catches for -1 yard.
No, no, 100%.
He
This
also
was a
fumbled.
Chief statement game. You're going to say that we're going to put up 47 points, Bills, then we're going to come with you in our passing game and get 42 points. This is, of course, the last game we're talking about today, but this, I have no doubt. Spoiler alert, this will be the game to watch, I feel. But good on Big Ben. I hope he works in the organization. Stay in Pittsburgh and just help recruit. You're a good man. I hope everything goes well for you, Big Ben. I think I took him once in fantasy. I think I took him once.
There you go. Everyone's
He did me good. He did me good back in the day. Cardinals versus the Rams. Rams were home and Rams won. God, could there? Kyler Murray did not look good at all.
Kyler Murray was 19 of 34 for a whopping 137 yards and 2 interceptions. He
And one
also
of them was the
ran up the
shortest
field.
interception.
Yeah, well, again, so it wasn't very good, and he ran for a whopping 6 yards. The only other thing that he does well, besides play baseball, which you might
Was
want
this
to
Rams
pick
too
up.
much? Are the Rams going to put the Bucks on notice after this performance against Arizona, or
The
because
Rams
Arizona they're
can
not experienced?
the Rams can certainly put him on notice because I know they started slow. They have Aaron Donald, they have Von Miller, they have Jalen Ramsey, they have pieces, big pieces. Defensive player of the years,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. They can hit the quarterback. They can cause you know bad throws, etc. There's lots of things that they can do. Hitting Brady is what slows him down, etc. And Bucks offensive line's hurt. So, depending on who plays, two of them sprained ankles, and I don't remember what happened to the third guy, but these guys can get after Brady. And that's not a recipe for success in Tampa. So, yes, this Rams team can handle it. Matthew Stafford was 13 of 17. He only needed to throw 17 passes, had 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they had a very balanced attack. 13 rushes for Michelle, 17 rushes for Akers, six uh, inexplicable rushes for Matt Stafford.
You gotta show he's on the move.
Well, football, you got to do what you got to do to win. Odell Beckham threw a 40-yard pass. So, but
Rams were in high alert, and of course, we'll talk more about it in just a little bit. But yeah, definitely for Arizona. I mean, it's upsetting of what happened. Of course, you don't have Hopkins there. Like that's a big playmaker. We're not going to say that, but to just two interceptions, missing your targets, rushing the ball, being inexperienced. Like you said, you pointed. You have a defensive player of the year. You also have somebody who played with fucking Peyton Manning and is in these big playoff Super Bowl situations in Von Miller. Like this is a defense that is going to eat you up, and I don't think Arizona was ready. And we're going to touch on this later. This comes a big factor in the Bucks against Brady, like you mentioned earlier. If they get there, how good is Brady going to be on his feet, being that he is a bazillion years old?
yeah, I
But
don't think it had anything to do with Arizona not being ready. And it had a lot to do with Arizona not being as good as people think and thought they were. This team started 7-0 and finished 11-6. So do the math. They were 4-6 after that. That's not good.
Not at all.
And they lost the games to teams like Detroit. Which is not good.
Good
They're
old
not that
Detroit.
good. Yes, the excuse is Hopkins didn't play, but one guy who's not a quarterback can't make or break your whole entire season.
Mm-hmm.
You still had weapons. James Conner was up there in the league leading touchdowns, had like 4 rushes. I get it, you got behind, but you got to use the guy. James Conner had 4 rushes for 19 yards and a touchdown. Eno Benjamin, who's the third string running back, had 4 rushes. Why?
Yeah, you're
Why?
right. You're right. They did not. They did not look like a playoff team whatsoever. And like you said, they had a strong start. That 7-0. I was riding it because you know me, I love me some Kyler Murray, but
Yeah.
that is 4-6, and the last basically the second half of the season is not good, especially with this Rams team ramping up and showing why they are dominant. Arizona needs to go to the drawing board, see what's really on over there, figure out what's going on. People have been saying that maybe Kyler Murray is not a franchise quarterback. I think that's a little bit extreme. I mean, let's see what happens next year. Of course, if he has a similar downgrade, the question might have to be asked there, similar to like a Daniel Jones. But Arizona, best of luck in your offseason making the plans work. But we're now here for this week of football. Are we not, Joe?
I think so. You tell me. Is that where we're at? Is that what we want? Want to talk about some foosball this week?
Foosball this week.
Let's
So
go.
let me just readjust over here so we can see these games in all their glory. Boom. So got the Bengals going to Tennessee. Saturday's first game.
Yep.
The AFC number one. Is this why they show they are number one?
They need to,
Derrick Henry's back. Is he going to make a difference?
obviously. I mean, you could talk about so and so, blah blah blah. Derrick Henry average, I think it was 5.7 yards a carry or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
he averaged 117 rush yards per game, and was still ended up finishing like the top 10 in rushing, and didn't play the last 10 weeks of the season. That's how dominant of a season he was having. Can the Bengals stop that? Probably not. I mean, I don't know, is Derrick Henry at 80%, 90%, 60%, what the number is. But if Derrick Henry's at like 80%, he's rushing for at least 80 yards, which dominates this game. They still have A.J. Brown.
who is the deep threat, of course, that
You know,
could. And nothing against Tannehill. Tannehill's a fantastic quarterback. Definitely could bring him to that promised land.
but tail of tape. Bengals 13th in offense, Titans 17th. Obviously, things would have been much different if Derrick Henry didn't get hurt.
Hmm.
Same thing. AJ Brown missed some time. Julio Jones missed 1,000 games because that's what Julio Jones does. 18th defense Bengals, 12th defense for the Titans. So advantage Titans there. Passing is the big difference. 7th for the Bengals, 24th for the Titans, 5th in rushing for Tennessee. And again, Derrick Henry getting hurt, they would have easily been first if he
Hmm.
played the full entire season.
Hmm.
23rd for the Bengals, even with Joe Mixon. So playoffs, being able to effectively run the ball, control the clock, are big, big things. So, like I said, if Derrick Henry's playing at say 80% or whatever, Titans can control the ball. As long as Tannehill is not turning it over, fumbling, throwing picks, whatever, just the they're going to be able to control the clock exactly like what San Fran did to Dallas. So I could see the same type of outcome. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to blow them out, but if Tennessee is effectively running the ball, it's going to be hard because it's going to force the Bengals into passing the ball, which is their strong suit. But like I said, Dallas is the same way. Dallas ran more offensive plays than San Fran, and San Fran had the ball for almost 8 minutes more and won the game because the clock ran out on Dallas. So you could have something like it's a close game, but maybe the Bengals get the ball with not much time left because same thing, Titans run the ball, etc., etc. Sorry.
So you named it, King Henry. You come at 80%. I don't think that the Bengals can withstand. They got to throw the ball, but you got to look at the other side of the tail of the tape. You have good old Burrow and Chase, and that fucking duo is just on another level. So if they are locked in, this game could be much tighter than people might be thinking. Yeah, King Henry might be playing its 80%. Titans, AJ Brown, we get it. If Julio Jones plays, God forbid. But you have these weapons play. Tannehill at his best. Of course, you look at the Titans just marching down that field. But Mixon, decent running back. Wouldn't take him in a top 5, top 10 in a fantasy, but he is going to be there for you when it comes to the postseason. And you have somebody like Chase, best rookie right now, having the all-time rookie year right now. So if I think Burrow and him are on pace, this game is going to come down to a field goal. This game is going to be an amazing game to watch. If, mind you, the Bengals D can at least somewhat keep Derrick Henry at bay if he plays.
Well,
That's how I see it. I
I'm,
see
I'm
I see Tennessee squeaking out the victory. Don't get me wrong, Tennessee all the way. But I think this is going to wake up people to the Bengals and show them that the Bengals are much more of a formidable opponent than many people must think.
yeah, but that again, if you're gonna lose a close game, you got to now look at it as hey, you got to win that game. So
You don't do you think that the Bengals could pull an upset?
I mean, if there's a team they were gonna upset, Tennessee would be them. They're the most vulnerable. But again, you got to hang with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't stop Derrick Henry, you've got no chance because that takes pressure off Tannehill. Same way again. Go back to San Fran a million times. Garoppolo threw a bad pick. Don't get me wrong, but they didn't have to rely on Garoppolo to win them that game. You're gonna be relying on a second-year quarterback to win you a playoff game. If things play out the way it's expected, that Titans can successfully run the ball, etc. You're gonna have to be reliant on inexperienced playoff players to win you the game. Where at least we know the Titans have made the playoffs the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, you're looking at the Bengals overcoming the Las Vegas Raiders, which, like I said, wasn't the strongest suit on both teams. So definitely something for the Bengals to show up and show that maybe there's hope after all in good old Cincy.
Yeah, of course.
49ers Packers. Packers are at home, obviously, because Packers are fantastic. But
So,
can the 49ers stop them, Joe?
so we're gonna give you some interesting facts. Aaron Rodgers is 0-3 against San Fran in the playoffs.
Ooh.
See, who would have thought that? And now we're gonna give you a little something more because it's the tail of tape. And now tell me you expected this. Offense. Who had the better rank in offense?
I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Green Bay was 10. San Fran was 7.
Oh, but fucking Debo.
Sure, they got Devontae Adams. Is he not good all of a sudden?
Yeah, but Debo, we had this conversation last week. Definitely check that out.
And one team
Video.
has Aaron Rodgers and the other team has Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah,
Then
but
why were
with
the 49ers
Debo
better on
Samuel,
offense?
you'll have a running back wide receiver.
Who cares? So what? You have Aaron Rodgers, the more than likely MVP.
Listen, I love me some Aaron Rodgers this week, don't I? And we're going to ride that train so he gets eliminated. But
Defense, 49ers or Packers.
so you think the 49ers can do it?
We're just going to third ranked defense for the 49ers, ninth for the Packers.
Okay.
So both teams top 10 offense and defense. Passing, 8th for the Packers, 12th for the 49ers, 7th in rushing for the 49ers, 18th for the Packers. So again, 49ers are going to try and do what they did to Dallas. They're going to try and control the clock, pound the ball, etc. They need their big boys to play. I haven't looked into, are they playing? I would be 100% certain Warner's playing. And if I were to guess, I'm pretty sure Bosa will play as well. So now we're going to actually dive into the game. It's in Lambeau. It's going to be cold. All of those things. So those are all advantages to Green Bay.
Of course, of course.
San Fran plays in California in a dome, I also believe, where the weather's nice, nice and warm. So this is going to be a game where San Fran needs to run the ball. They need Mitchell to run the ball 27 times again, Debo run the ball 10 times again, etc. to have any shot. So if Green Bay comes out early, goes up 14 nothing in the first, 17 nothing in the first, or early in the second where they're up 3 scores, that's really going to put a lot of pressure on San Fran. Because said, okay, cool, they were the 12th passing offense, but now we're sitting here. We have 8 teams left in the playoffs. An argument could be made where legitimately Jimmy Garoppolo is the worst quarterback left in the playoffs. Yeah, he wins games. His team wins games. He has a winning record, etc. How many of these games is he throwing the team on his back and let's go, boys? We're gonna circle back to the Cowboy game because that's who they played. Kittle literally did nothing. Is that because of Jimmy Garoppolo? Is that because of Kittle? The game plan was to run the ball, which takes away one of your best playmakers. So I think Kittle needs to be more involved. They need to keep running the ball like they ran the ball. And you have the third-ranked defense. You need to make some stops on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I don't really think he's going to turn the ball over. So I'm not going to go with, hey, you need to force turnover. It's you need to force stops. Third down, you gotta break up a pass to Devontae Adams, or whatever. Something find a way to get them off the field. Because that's the only shot you're gonna have. Predictions, like I'm watching this now, prediction was 28-21 Green Bay.
I see it. And I also see when you said that when you look at these 8 teams, you would look at Jimmy G not being the worst quarterback out of all these quarterbacks. Nothing like out of these respect, but you have Aaron Rodgers going for an MVP season, going to show, and Green Bay has been dominant, whether it be with Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, whoever you want to put on that team. Aaron Rodgers makes plays happen. And of course, if it was in San Fran, all warm and sunny, great. But you need San Fran to, like you said, run the ball, have Debo be that big playmaker that he is. Hopefully Bosa plays. Hopefully the defense is up to snuff and that they can play. Because I don't think that if they control the clock, like you said, Green Bay gets up, this game is all in Green Bay's hands. So it's definitely going to be something where this is going to be, at least for me, known by the middle of the second quarter, who's going to be the better team on this day. I feel we'll know by the second quarter where this game will be going for the rest of the time. But
So if it's 14-10 or something like that in the second quarter, then what?
who's got the 14? Who's got the 10?
I don't care. We'll flip the script on you. It's 14-10 San Fran.
14
So
10.
so it's over.
No, I'm not saying that. Who got the ball
Oh,
first? There's bunch of varieties, variables we don't know. So you got to look at it that way. Where who had the ball first? Who made the impact? How's the crowd being? Is it that Green Bay just scored? Because then going into halftime, you have the momentum of Green Bay. I'm saying within a 2 touchdown score where you're more than likely controlling the second half of the game and your opponent knows it and you know it. But when it comes to something close like that, it all depends on give me the last 2 minutes of that play because then I could tell you, oh, Green Bay has a chance. Or if San Fran just started getting on the heater, there's all these questions be answered. But at the end of the day, the question you want answered is that the Packers will win this, I believe, by 2 touchdowns. I think Devontae Adams is going to have a hell of a day.
well, I mean, realistically, he has to because he's their playmaker. So there's no doubt on that.
So still,
I think San Fran, assuming everybody plays, keeps it close. I mean, in the end, things may happen where it becomes a two-score game, but I think San Fran hangs in there.
they are good. Like I said, we talked about it earlier. Their division is a tough ass division. So they're a tough team. So if their defensive players play, definitely. I think though, if and God forbid something happens where they're not at 100%, I don't see it being pretty on the 49ers side. But let's move on to the Rams versus the Bucks. Of course, Bucks have home field.
They do, which usually means better weather unless something happens in Florida at the time. But so the fun fact for this game is Tom Brady's 14-2 in divisional games, meaning this round of the playoffs.
Yep. Lost 2 in this round. That's insane.
So
But this is the Rams.
so now we'll get to the tail of the tape. We've got the number 2 ranked offense for Tampa against the number 9 ranked offense for the Rams. We know both teams play offense.
Top 10s. That's fine.
13 in defense for the Bucks, 17 for the Rams. Shocking that the Rams with all the talent, but we know they had that horrible start.
Mm-hmm.
And Tampa being banged up, so their defense took a pounding. They lost a bunch of corners, and like we said, the Rams started slow. First in passing for the Bucks, but no Godwin, no Antonio Brown, etc. So those numbers may be skewed a little bit. Fifth for the Rams, no real shock there that they're top 5 offense with improvements becoming, Matt Stafford coming in, trading for Odell Beckham after right at when Robert Woods got hurt. So, good on them there. Rushing offenses both were terrible. So this is going to be a game where which quarterback plays better will probably win this game. Again, we saw Fournette last year in the playoffs. It was amazing. So he's practicing, that's a big thing. But even so, for the most part, he played most of the season until the back end of the season. They were 26th in rushing. So it's not very good. The
Before
Rams
that is a very good running back.
the Rams are 25th in rushing. Also not good. So that's what I'm saying. Is this can come down to, Cup versus Evans, Brady versus Stafford, you know, realistic Gronk versus Odell Beckham. So which, I guess tandem of receivers make more plays, bigger plays, etc. Stafford's been known to throw some interceptions. That will obviously affect the outcome of this game as well. Nobody, Brady will throw interceptions, but most people don't sit there and say, "Oh, we expect Brady to throw an interception." He wasn't Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers only threw 4. Brady was up there at least amount of interceptions thrown. So it's a lot harder to pencil him in turning the ball over compared to Stafford.
But doesn't it come down at the end of it 14-2 in divisional games? Tom Brady is going to be the better quarterback. And what better way to lead your team with Evans, with Gronk, with the and if Fournette plays these great playmakers? How do you not have arguably the greatest quarterback of all time at the helm, having stats just as good as when he was younger, and the man is fucking 45 years old, still making some of the best career um, yards, fucking touchdowns, having a great year against Stafford, who, let's face it, a lot of the worry last week was his interceptions and him playing the big game. He was in Detroit for all those years, and Detroit was never that big of a team where they were coming into the playoffs as a threat. He moved to the Rams, but now you have the argument where you said before you have that cup, you have on the other side of him all these playmakers, all these Odell Beckham, who was fantastic last week because he ended up getting a touchdown. Like he's been delivering, he's had a resurgence over in LA Rams territory. So how did this game, if Stafford can play, like you said, it is a quarterback, receiver, running back matchup where who's going to bring their A game? You got to give it up. I think Tampa having that home field advantage, being Brady, being that 14-2 quarterback that he is, it's hard. You can't bet against Brady. That's what I did last week against the Eagles. You don't bet against Brady. He won me some nice money. Brady
Well,
all the way here. I don't know how this is an argument. Brady,
prediction is 27-23 Tampa. The other thing to look out for, and I've seen a couple shows talk about it. So against the blitz, Matt Stafford was 7 for 9 against the Cardinals last week. On the season, he's got a 139.6 passer rating against the blitz, and Tampa blitz is the second most in football. So that might be something where the Bucks need to change up their defense because Stafford's picking apart the blitz, something like that. So that'll be interesting to see. Somebody watching the game.
we be watching that game. You best
Tampa scored
believe.
30 plus points in the last 5 playoff games with Brady at quarterback. So they've been putting up the points, you know, but we'll see. Obviously, he's playing a much better team this week.
The one thing, and like I said, we're gonna move on and we're gonna talk about the Bills Chiefs in just a moment. But the one thing I will say about these playoff matches is I feel like on any given Sunday, obviously, this a team can win, but it's literally never more apparent than here. Like you have some incredible division rounds, which means the conference championship is going to be that much more epic because when the Bills smack around the Chiefs in Arrowhead, because the Bills, I feel, are the team to beat in this playoff season. I don't care about the Packers. I don't care about the Titans. I don't care about the fucking Bucks. The Bills, I think, showed something in New England. We said at the top of the show, and I think it's going to continue. I think Josh Allen is going to continue to be dominant, and he's going to go to Kansas City, beat Mahomes, beat the Chiefs, beat Hill, beat Travis Kelsey, and then look at everybody going, I'm the captain now.
Well, maybe. I mean, you're all high and mighty on Kyler Murray, and he barely broke 100 yards passing last week. So
I would not. Josh Allen is a far superior quarterback as of this year, especially in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks.
sure. So we'll get into this breakdown. Third offense, KC. Fifth offense, Buffalo. So pretty evenly matched there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Here's the big problem. Number 1 defense for Buffalo. Number 27 for Kansas City. So I'm playing Big Ben this week. They're playing a mobile quarterback. So that's going to be what Buffalo needs to exploit. Ninth in passing for Buffalo, fourth for Kansas City, sixth in rushing for Buffalo, which is not really a shock. They probably should have been even higher. 16th for Kansas City. So again, now with Josh Allen running and Singletary becoming much more of a playmaker back end of the season, They
Mm-hmm,
can control
mm-hmm.
the ball, keep Mahomes off the field. Big advantage there. That's what could lead to the upset. Overall, I'm watching little highlight things. So
No, no worries.
the last two times Buffalo played Kansas City, they did not blitz Patrick Mahomes at all. I I think you got to blitz him a little bit. It does hang your defense out to dry, but that's something that needs. We just talked about Stafford picking apart the blitz. You gotta get some pressure on Mahomes. We've seen him try to make a lefty pass and a flip and all things like that. He doesn't do that if he's not under pressure. No quarterback in football has ever been like, "Wow, I've got 5 seconds to throw the ball. I'm just gonna throw it with my left hand." That's never happened. He did that because he was under pressure trying to make a play, which he's known for, trying to make big plays. So if you're not blitzing him, you're not pressuring him. So I don't think Buffalo can win like that. Did beat them 38-20 last time they played, but this is a playoff game. You know,
An
all bets are
AFC
off on that,
Championship rematch.
correct? And we know who won that one. So,
Mm. But
and
you
that was one
can't
of those
say
games
that
they
this
didn't
is
blitz
not
him.
going to be vindication for Josh Allen going there, stomping him. What does it say? What do the results say? Who's winning this game?
It said Chiefs 27-26, which those numbers don't even make sense. But and 27 makes sense. 26, I don't. So when you get
You
to
know what? They
20,
get that random
20 and then
safety and all
kicking
that.
kicking 2 field goals, I don't know. Sounds dumb.
I mean, out of all these games that we've talked about, this definitely, I think, has the most, I want to say, bearings for the AFC as a whole. Because you have the Kansas City, the fan favorites. You have Buffalo, who went in, destroyed New England, took Belichick and his defense and put him on a laughing stock, putting up all those points. This is going to be who is going to rise as the AFC contender for the Super Bowl. This is
Well,
the matchup I see because who
here's
wins this?
where uh seedings have mattered. So looking over the notes for this game, Buffalo's 0-3 on the road under this head coach and 3-0 at home under their coach. So home field makes a difference. The games in Kansas City. So that's one thing, and that's why people are like, oh, hey, why are these teams doing these things? Patrick Mahomes has the highest quarterback rating in the playoffs since 1970, higher than Tom Brady, higher than Aaron Rodgers, etc. So those are things to keep in mind. I mean, I don't know what, I'm just trying to throw facts out there. This is the first time. This is the first division round matchup between the previous conference champions since 2014. I mean 2004. So both teams ended up going on a Super Bowl. So this could be, and again we'll be able to talk about this next week. This could be one of these games where these two teams beat each other up so badly that whoever they're playing next week could have an advantage. I mean, if Cincinnati upsets Tennessee, maybe not, but this could be one of those games where
God, imagine just Cincy goes all the way. Good Lord.
you never know, but because we're looking at it, Buffalo's got the number one ranked defense. Yeah, they had some questionable games, but they have a legitimate defense. So they could knock Kansas City around. Stuff like that. So maybe they lose the game, but they put a hurting on Kansas City, something like that. They're not. These aren't finesse teams. I guess is where I'm going. There's some finesse with Kansas City with Tyreek Hill. They have
Unfortunately.
Travis Kelsey. Mahomes will run the ball. Allen will run the ball. So you're gonna get stuff like that. Mahomes may not run you over. Josh Allen certainly will run you over. But this is one of these games where having to play each other this early, where it's not the game to go to the Super Bowl, not the conference title game, is rough. Like they got the bad end of this deal. these two teams, or Tennessee because they got the number one gets Cincinnati, and whatever you could say, you out of those teams, you know, you want to play Cincinnati. You don't want to play Buffalo. You don't want to play Kansas City. So this is where the number one seed came into play. Where the NFC, maybe not so much. San Fran's
Of
not a
course,
pushover.
of
Where
course, I
the
agree with that.
low seed AFC is Cincinnati. Who's not playoff tested outside of one game against the Raiders.
Well, we always said that the AFC, like for the NFC, it was clear cut that, Green Bay was the team, definitely in the latter end. Of course, the same thing with the Rams. You know the Bucks are going to be there. You know the usual suspects will be for the NFC, and of course the AFC. But how Tennessee end up clinching that number one and really just messing with Kansas City and Buffalo, because you're right, this is a conference championship game. It was last year, and it was one hell of a game. Maybe not points wise, but you got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes right now in their prime doing their thing. And to be in a divisional round, like you said, the wear and tear to show Buffalo wants to show why they can continue on and they can beat Mahomes in the postseason. Mahomes wants to say, I want to show you why I'm going back to the Super Bowl. This, I cannot tell you, I think signifies that this is our Super Bowl champions coming, or our Super Bowl contenders, let me say, against possibly Tampa, Green Bay, or the Rams. Like,
But this
this,
shows you the adding that extra game into the season ended up being big for multiple reasons. So it got teams in the playoffs that might not got in the playoffs, like the Steelers, etc. Stuff like that. So that made it exciting for football.
Mhm.
Plus, it's an extra game. But you saw the Titans played and already locked up the one seed the day before. So Chiefs already knew they couldn't get the one seed. But this shows you how important home field advantage was. That Kansas City had to go out there and handle their business, knowing that there was a possibility they were playing Buffalo in the next round of the playoffs.
Mhm.
And like I said, with the coach, he's 0-3 on the road as a Buffalo head coach. So getting that home field advantage, especially weather-wise, going to Buffalo where it's cold, windy, it's the AFC, almost the AFC version of Lambeau. Not as frigid,
Mhm.
but that on par with that. That just shows you how important it was Kansas City getting their fans behind them, etc. The Sea of Red, not as bad of weather. So
So the question has to be asked, Joe. The fans want to know. Everybody wants to know. Who do you have on this game?
I think this is finally the time Buffalo makes their statement.
My brother.
If this was last year, the Chiefs defense was playing up to how they were last year, then no doubted the Chiefs. Just because, they've gone to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. But I think just Buffalo overall is just too strong this year.
I agree. I think I think it is Buffalo's time. I think they'll be beat up. And if it's Cincy, I think Buffalo's hoping, but I see Tennessee versus Buffalo for our AFC championship, and I can get very behind that game for next week.
Well, that would be a nice matchup because then that's more pound with Derrick Henry. Another knock him out, drag him out.
Go to American football.
Good old slobber knocker.
But I think it's going to be a big, great playoff weekend. I definitely think the upset that I could see most likely would be probably San Fran to beat Green Bay. I don't think anything. You could say the Bengals too. There's a lot of upsets that I could. A couple of
Well,
big
you could see
upsets.
both one seeds getting upset just because San Fran, as we talked about,
Is that legitimate? It's
top 10 in offense and defense. If everybody plays, they can hold their own.
exactly,
And
exactly.
then again, the Titans are a weaker team compared to Kansas City and Buffalo. So yeah, both one seeds I think are in for the possible rude awakening. Tampa the Rams. Whoever wins that game, it's not really an upset. I know it says 2 versus 4,
But
But it's
these are two amazing teams
you know
that
everybody the minute the Rams got Matt Stafford was already anointing the Rams, winning the Super Bowl, at least going to the Super Bowl. So just because they started slow and in probably the best division of football doesn't justify. Dallas was the 3 seed and was out. They had the same record as Dallas. So that's or I think they were a game behind them. But either way, they're obviously a better team than Dallas is. They're a better team than obviously the Cardinals. They beat them, stuff like that. So
so out of the four, which one are you looking forward to the most? As a fan perspective, which one can't you wait to watch?
honestly, I want to see the NFC game, the Bucks game. Like I know the Buffalo game should be good, but the Buffalo game could go so wrong as well. Both quarterbacks, if they're not in sync, have played questionably. These are two veteran quarterbacks on really good teams. I want to see who comes out of that game. I think you know I think that this has got to be the Rams statement. They sold essentially their soul to get Stafford to become that team. They have the pieces. They need to now show it. So otherwise, what happens? You're not gonna get rid of Stafford, but what happens if the Rams lose this game? Do you gotta Von Miller probably won't be back then. He's a little older anyway. But he was a superstar. These are all things like okay, we
OBJ.
bring we bring back OBJ. All those things. So that puts a lot of questions on the Rams' plate if they lose this game.
I like that pick. I like that good pick. Good pick. But I want to thank everybody for watching. Of course, you can catch us every Thursday at 6:30 over on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. So make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to all that new stuff. Make sure you drop in, see what's going on. We got the championship conference. I think this worked out how we'll talk about the playoff games and then go talk about the coming up week next week. I think that worked out pretty well. I think we'll do that again.
Yep. So the shows will get a little shorter as we're getting less games and no real. Yes, there's a playoff challenge, but no real fantasy impact to be talking about. In the off season, sure, we can talk about keeper leagues, things like that. But for right this minute, there's not a lot of fantasy impact, so that dumbs us down a little bit, which isn't the worst thing in the world.
I'm just waiting for baseball season. And you know there will be a baseball podcast. I want to thank
Certainly
you,
will
as
be,
always, for joining me, Mr. J. Rush.
of course.
And we'll see you guys next Thursday at 6:30.